Hurra!
Ta hele toget nå, så blir det telt på videoen etterpå som mange.
Jeg ble ikke forfølt med.
Ja, så da stemmer dere i.
Vi elsker dette landet som det stiger frem. Ut er blitt over landet ned i 1000 hjem. Elsker det å tenke på vår far og mor, og den sagaen som senker drømmer på vår jord, og den sagaen som senker drømmer på vår jord. Norske vann i hus og hytte av din store Gud. Landet ville han beskytte, skjønte først så ut. Alt var bedre det har kjempet, bedre det har greit. Har nærmere stille ventet, har en herre stille ventet, så vi vant vår rett.
Gratulerer med dagen! Og da er neste, jeg er i Scalloway klokka 15, og det går buss derfra til Scalloway.
Before we start, there's a lady from Norway here, Marie. She's going to play this Norwegian instrument for a short period. So, on you go. Well, welcome everybody here to Scalloway on the 17th of May, Norway's National Day. A special welcome to our visitors from Norway and to Agder Krigsseileres and the 11 yachts that have come over to Shetland to be with us today. Some have come a long way from as far north as Lerwick at Trondheim Fjord and as far south as Haugesund. We also welcome today Odd Andersen, son of the second in command of the sub-chaser Vigra. His father's name was Birger Andersen, and the members of the Norwegian War Sailors Society of Southern Norway. Once again, we welcome the Merchant Navy cadets from the college, the North Atlantic College, and with also the colour of the Shetland branch of the Merchant Navy. We have to remember that between 1940 and 1943, the men who served on the fishing boats were merchant seamen, so it's fitting that we always have the Merchant Navy colour here for them. Now this year is the 80th anniversary of the Norwegian Navy taking over the Shetland bus operation in October 1945 and establishing here in Scalloway the Norwegian Navy Special Unit. Now this was when the United States gave the operation 3 sub-chasers to replace the fishing boats after the loss of 8 boats and 44 men. And these 44 men that was lost on the Shetland bus operation are remembered on this memorial. From October 1943 and until the end of the war in May 1945, the sub-chasers made 115 trips to Norway to support the resistance and to bring back refugees. And these boats, when they came, there were no further losses on the operation. There was no further loss of life. Now, the operation became so efficient and regular that it has been said that this was where the name the Shetland bus came from. Now, this memorial here is constructed with stones from the locations in Shetland that the Shetland bus operated from. And there's also stones around the top of the memorial which came from Norway. And there is a stone from every place in Norway for one of the 44 men that's remembered on the memorial. Lay the wreaths. The first wreath to be laid will be laid by Odd Andersen, son of the Shetland busman Birger Andersen, and he will lay a wreath on behalf of the Norwegian War Sailors Society of Southern Norway.
We are here as representatives of the descendants of war sailors in the southern part of Norway. Among us are the son of Birger Arnesen, who sailed with Leif Larsen in what's known as the Shetland gang. It is a great reverence that we wish to lay these flowers at this memorial. I would first like to say a few words about the brave men in the Shetland gang, but also a few words about the efforts of the war sailors. This memorial is, as we know, made up of stones from the municipalities in Norway that lost one or more of their men in the Shetland gang's action. The courage and the willingness to risk their lives is to be admired. However, I will also highlight the support they received in Shetland. Without a safe base, without opportunities for repair and maintenance, without supplies of necessary goods and services, the efforts could quickly come to an end. But thanks to this collaboration, Leif Larsen and the rest of the Shetland gang could look back on an incredible effort for Norway's freedom. The group has made 198 trips to Norway in fishing boats and submarine chases. The Shetland bus has transported 192 agents and nearly 400 tons of weapons and supplies to Norway, and has brought out 73 agents and 373 refugees. 44 members of the group were killed. Another group that excelled were the war sailors who manned Norwegian merchant ships during the Second World War. More than 1 million soldiers, said Churchill's Minister of War about the efforts of Norwegian merchant fleet. At the beginning of the Second World War, Norske ship had about 1,000 merchant ships at its disposal and was of crucial importance in being able to transport supplies to England and Scotland, not least oil and petrol, so that the RAF could keep its planes on the wings. Among the approximately 69,000 seamen on Norwegian ships were also crew from Shetland. So far, I have the names of 4 of these brave men: John Gilbertson, Murdoch Mackenzie, John J. Mowat, and Lawrence R. Carriock. About 50% of the crew on Norwegian merchant ships were from nations other than Norway. Let this emphasize that we need each other in a complicated world. The ties that were created between Norway and Shetland during the Second World War are ties that we hold dear in Norway. We noticed this on this visit and on previous visits. Let us gratefully remember the war sailors and the Shetland gang, but not least the civilian effort that was made for the Shetland gang here in Scalloway and all over Shetland. In gratitude, we put down these flowers. Thank you very much, Arnie Lerwick, for that very nice speech. The next race to be laid will be Roger Reen and Ryden Bierland on behalf of the Norwegian yacht sailors.
Thank you. 2 days ago, I had the pleasure of meeting a couple from here at a pub in Lerwick. When I introduced myself as a Norwegian, I was curious about their impressions of Norway. The man had visited Norway last year in Måløy with the fellow Shetlanders, and as we conversed, they expressed an excitement for Norway, finding it more appealing than London or Scotland. But however, above all, they identified themselves as proud Shetlanders, which is truly understandable. I asked them about the historical ties between Shetland and Norway during the World War II. In the beginning, they did not remember so much, but as our conversation progressed, their memories became better, and they shared a wealth of knowledge. Of course, they were familiar with the legendary history of the Shetland buses. They showed me a great understanding of what happened in those days. The couple impressed me. Nowadays, we can no longer be taken for granted that we understand and know our nation's past. Therefore, it became so important for us to pass down this history from one generation to the next. The Norwegian ambassador in London in 1998, Kjell Kolding, wrote this in a foreword to David Howard's book, The Shetland Bus. To a Norwegian, this title is synonymous with courage, bravery, and the will to fight oppression. I was born 15 years after the war ended, but during my childhood I frequently heard stories about the Shetland buses. Shetland Larsen was one of our national heroes, a man who did extraordinary things during the wartime. He was a source of pride for my parents, my grandparents, and indeed the entire nation. Leif Larsen and his brave men who let the Norwegian people take the Shetland bus during the war years and brought to our country undercover agents, weapons and other supplies deserved this status from the Norwegian people. They have deserved more support from our government after the war, but that is another story. 33 years ago, as a young journalist, I was told a story about the first boat from my part of Norway, Namdalen in Trøndelag, over to Shetland. It was September 1941. A young man, 23 years old, from Fra Agder, took 2 Norwegians and a Swede over to here on a small fishing boat. I am sure that many of you here probably knows this man much better than I do. I write the story in the paper at that time, back in 1989, and it was told me of the man who was one of the organizers of the trip. Knut Løfsnes, who was my informant, told me the story about Kåre Emil Iversen, the son of the pilot on the lighthouse on the coast of Trøndelag, who used that 42 feet long pilot boat over the North Sea to Shetland. After the war, Kåre Emil Iversen stayed on Shetland. He got married and lived his whole life with his family here in Scalloway. Kåre Emil Iversen has reminded in my memory for over 30 years. Each time Shetland is mentioned, his stories came back to my memory. Unfortunately, I never had the opportunity to meet him. In many years, I have planned for a trip to Shetland with the sailors from my community. This year, it finally became a reality, allowing me to celebrate the Norwegian Day in Lerwick and here in Scalloway. I have bought and read most of Shetland Busman, the book Kåre Emil Iversen wrote and published more than 20 years ago. He went more than 50 trips over the North Sea during the war, a lot of them in Shetland Larsen's crew, and it was of course a lot of drama. Iversen lost colleagues on his boat, and probably he knew most of the 44 names on here, the 44 Norwegians on the 10 boats who lost their lives during the war. Today, we own these men to take care of and bring the history of the Shetland buses over to the next generations. It is no doubt that these operations contributed to the victory against Germany. At the same time, the history of the Shetland buses had a very important psychological impact on the Norwegian population. The bus to Shetland was seen as a way to freedom. It gave hope and showed that it was possible to fight against the occupant even with small resources. We have to remember the men behind the buses. we have to remember and take care of the good relationships between our societies. And the most important thing, we have to tell the new generation about it. With these words, we honor their memories with this flower wreath.
Thank you very much for that very nice speech. Councillor Davy Sanderson will now lay a wreath on behalf of the Scalloway Community Council. John Mackenzie will lay a wreath on behalf of the Shetland Bush Friendship Society. Ivy Young will lay a wreath on behalf of the Scalloway branch of the British Legion. Shetland branch of the Merchant Navy Association will lay a wreath. Is there anyone else wishing to lay a wreath? The Scalloway School children? Okay. Yes, the Scalloway School children, come forward, all lot of you together, it'd be lovely. It's a very moving thing to think that
they shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them. A moment of silence.
now have the British national anthem. Norwegian national anthem. Well, thank you all very much. That concludes our service here today. It's not been a nice day, but we've all done our best, so thank you all very much. And there'll be a nice cup of coffee waiting for you in the museum. So thank you all very much.